Bem.
Okay, legal. Perfeito.
Hey, we're here with Bate-papo. After some time that we took off from this moment over here, and I'm so glad to have you over here, Versatil. And I believe I know you for at least 18 years. Yeah, because
Yeah, it's been
when I came back
a
to Los
while.
Angeles. Yeah, and I'm very glad to hear that now you are marriage family therapist. And today we are bringing this theme that really is kind of disturbing. That I think we deal with in our career, but specifically right now with what's going on in the world of
Yes.
capoeira. I would like to really to be bringing this theme of child sexual abuse and why we need to all the time deal with the fact that people want to silence the victims. So, Versatil, I want you to introduce yourself to the people, and we will be talking in Portuguese and English so everybody can understand. And please be welcome over here in this platform and make this, a place where you can really talk about your experience, yourself, and this really theme of sexual abuse.
Obrigado mesmo. Um, I guess I'd like to start by saying that I am a survivor of childhood sexual abuse. Um, and it took me a number of years to regain the memories of it. I was in my mid 30s. However,
Mhm.
even though I didn't have the memories, I was acting out on it in many subconscious and as well as conscious ways that were detrimental to myself, to my partners, uh, and to folks around me. Nothing that was illegal, but it really made it hard to function. So, not being able to face that, not being able to realize that throughout most of my life, it made it difficult to move forward. But once I regained the memories and was able to get therapy, that led me on this long journey in trying to find ways to both better myself and in realizing that as a capoeirista, as a teacher of capoeira, capoeira in and of itself is a healing art form. All of our cultural art forms, samba, jongo, tudo, they're all healing art forms. And so, how to, as a practitioner, how to leverage that healing part. I realized that there was a certain level of professionalism that I needed to learn, a certain
Mhm.
set of practices and understanding that I needed to know in order to know how to comport myself as a teacher, just as a teacher, but then also to be able to leverage the healing aspect of it. And that's one of the key points that we miss is that we are in a very powerful set of arts and practices, and we need more than just necessarily the cultural teachings in order to have a level of professionalism where we can be mindful and safe in what we do. So I think that's the first aspect. And you and I were talking when I was looking at how to better understand the use of capoeira as a healing art, and you pointed me to the school that I went to, which is very it's
Uh,
Pacifica.
you breaking. Can you repeat that? That I point you out to the school Pacifica. You break it out. Fernando, eu acho que nós perdemos ele.
Very
Versátil, your internet, I think, is breaking up. Hold on.
in looking at aspects of culture. And so I went back to grad school, got therapy using a healing community. But the origin of that being sexual abuse, it comes up again and again because it's endemic in that we as humans learn to be, but also power structures that are in our art forms. You have maestries, you have professores, you have all these teachers, and we're up to them for good reason in that they are masters of the art form.
Mhm.
But we sometimes look to them as masters of humanity or masters of people, when in some cases we're not even masters of ourselves, and we're still learning that.
Yes.
I think that's the second mistake that we these cultural art forms, and so we don't necessarily allow our students to question us.
Mm.
Don't necessarily find ways to remove the power that we have.
Mhm.
And it goes to there's a neurobiological base to it, in that when you have somebody who's set up as a parent or a teacher or a griot or a mãe de santo, pai de santo,
Mhm.
mastery, your brain turns off the part that makes you assertive.
Mhm.
It's a pack or herd mentality that the stronger individual who's leading, you start to take in whatever information they give you with
Mhm.
can or should stand up, because that allows us as a community or as a herd to move forward and to survive together. Um, but that gives that person more power themselves even understand. So if we are teachers in these art forms, really need to understand how much power we have, because we're not going to feel it. It appears
Oh, oh,
in very seemingly innocuous ways. So
okay.
then when we try to hold accountable in those rare instances, we feel disrespected. And we're not used to exercising the muscle of how to accept that criticism, because it doesn't happen enough.
Yes.
I've already spoken
Versátil.
way too much, but you.
Não, não, não. Só para a gente falar um pouquinho em português também, porque a gente tem muita gente do Brasil assistindo essa live. Então, só para a gente dar um resuminho aqui, né? O Versátil, você quer falar em português, Versátil? Você quer falar a sua parte que você falou, que você pode resumir um pouquinho mais?
Então, eu sou pesquisador do trabalho do Roberto Freire, que faz a somaterapia. É uma modalidade que usa as partes da cultura de capoeira e movimentações, e trabalho do Wilhelm Reich, usando essa cultura para dar força para a gente, para melhorar esses problemas psicológicos. Então, como terapeuta, como professor de capoeira, o professor de dança, qualquer coisa, que é uma coisa biological, também psicológica, que é difícil para os alunos ou alunas que não podem responder, não podem falar para seus professores que não, não isso, não isso. É assim, é necessário para nós pegar um pouco mais informação sobre nosso podre como professores, como mestres, mais profissionalidade. Esse trabalho que fazendo agora na comunidade do capoeira e também na comunidade de dança.
O, eu acho que uma coisa importante que o Versatil também trouxe aqui foi que ele disse que ele mesmo ele é um sobrevivente, né, de abuso sexual quando ele foi criança e que ele não tinha percebido o impacto porque ele não tinha memória do ele não tinha a memória, né, do do abuso. Só quando ele teve 30 anos, olha só, gente, 30 anos depois, que ele começou a perceber que os comportamentos, de como ele se comportava numa relação com ele mesmo, com as pessoas, que ele realmente começou a perceber que ele teve esse impacto. Então, a nossa conversa hoje, né, Versátil, é exatamente isso, para a gente conversar a respeito de como a gente, como sociedade, cala, a gente silencia as vítimas. Ou a gente fala, ai, não pensa nisso, deixa para lá, já passou, né? Ou então a gente não percebe, não vê o comportamento das pessoas, como as pessoas reagem. Versátil, you are doing a very interesting work now that it is actually to work with male, child abuse, like, the male child abuse. What is the difference, if any? There is a difference between, male child abuse or female child abuse.
Essentially, they're very similar, but because of the systems of patriarchy or the machismo that embedded in a lot of our cultures, it makes it much more difficult for men to get services, to even learn that we have an emotional side. And so as a result, not just with regard to abuse, but anything, sometimes we don't learn to express our emotions. We learn to suppress, be strong, and to move forward. There's shame in being emotional. On top of that, there's shame in sexual abuse. Então, como homem, se tem muita vergonha falando sobre sentimentos, sobre emoções. É muito difícil. Fala que eu fui abusado, eu fui, eu tinha essas coisas na minha vida. Tem muita vergonha. So it can be difficult to report. It can be difficult to get statistics, and there just aren't as many. There are two organizations in the United States that I know of that deal specifically with male-centered sexual abuse. There are hundreds that deal with women. Yet statistics, especially correct for lack of reporting, are almost equal. Men slightly less than women, but not even within the statistical variance is there any difference. So it can be very, very difficult as a man to come forward and to find healing. And because men are often in positions of power, it also means that these men who are in positions of power are also dealing much of the time with their own PTSD, with their own issues that they haven't found healing from. When they become these professores or masses or enter their places of power. It happened to me. I was teaching capoeira long before I had a chance to gain healing around my issues. And so luckily the community that I was in, I think, has a lot of open-minded people. And when I came to my understanding, people were there for me, both to hold me accountable, as well as to listen to what I had been through and to support me through what I had been through. So it was both sides. People being there saying, you can do this. We understand what happened, but also people saying that there was no excuse. We understand the mechanism by which these things happen, but you need to do better. And that allowed me to do so. And so there's this aspect of also those of us who have that realization of we've done things wrong, or we ends up being everybody, right? Can actually find a way to make those things up, to do better, to aid the people who we've hurt as well as ourselves. Um, so as men, be as teachers or not, it even though fewer service impact when we are the people who are committing crimes or doing things that are sexually abusive or any other type of abuse. For instance, with physical abuse, at least in the States, I think it may be a global statistic that women are actually more frequently perform assault within the context of an intimate relationship, much more than men. But men, when they do it, are much more lethal. So there is a power dynamic, physical power or power that we have to also hold in that balance. So I don't want to say, oh, poor men, men have it so hard. But we have to look at all details. We have a power, and that system of power also hurts us. So my hope is that in understanding this, men look at the power that they have, and they understand that that is killing them. They have to understand that the patriarchal superiority that we may not even understand we have, it results in higher suicide rates. It results in chronic diseases. It results in inabilities for us to maintain our family structures. There's so many things that us as men suffer because of systems of power that we put in place. So maybe the men and women, as well as people who don't identify with either, can work together to tear down patriarchy and understand that patriarchy doesn't mean the idea of being a man, right? The patriarchy is not, it doesn't mean that, your father is the head of your household and you need to make sure your father lives in the basement. It doesn't mean that. But a lot of people hear the word and they think that. But it means that this power structure that has been around since the Neolithic era, since we started agriculture and since men started using their strength to make sure they could maintain the wealth that they were gathering through gathering grains and gathering agricultural products and creating family systems that way. That those power structures are in place even today when we're in a business suit or we're in our abada or we're wearing our malandro garb and teaching classes. So both of these things happen at the same time.
Well, it's a very important point.
Both.
It's a very important also point that you're bringing over here, because it's the fact that there is so much myth about child abuse, that some people think that the only girls are abused and only man is abuser. But also that only happens in a poor, a family or neighborhood or communities. When not, is this child abuse really happens in all economics levels and all racial levels in all families. And not only this, it's like there is at least 20%, of the cases is also perpetrated by a woman. So, eu queria que a gente resumisse um pouquinho aqui. A gente está começando a falar realmente, né? Eu perguntei ao Versatil se realmente, né, a questão do menino ser abusado, né, do abuso sexual masculino, se é diferente do abuso sexual feminino, né? E ele está respondendo a respeito de como tudo isso é ligado a essa mentalidade patriarcal que se tem estabelecida na sociedade, em que a gente também às vezes não sabe, não reconhece que muitos dos mestres, muitos dos professores, das pessoas que assumem uma posição de autoridade, elas também ainda não trabalharam seus próprios problemas, seus próprios, né, traumas. Então, que de repente isso também pode ter uma influência. Mas a gente está discutindo aqui, gente, que não faz assim, essencialmente não tem uma diferença. Sexual abuse, abuso sexual é abuso sexual, sendo menino, sendo menina. Isso aí é um mito quando a gente fala, mas o que eu estou gostando que o Versatil está trazendo são esses pontos muito importantes que, como sociedade, o que acontece? Atrás de um abuso sexual tem muita vergonha, né? E principalmente sendo homem. Então, é a vergonha do homem assumir, é a emoção, né? De lidar com o sentimento. O homem tem muito essa mensagem que o homem não chora, o homem não, né? E também essas estruturas patriarcais que fazem com que a gente realmente não realmente dê força para o abusado, a pessoa, né, para a vítima, realmente expressar e falar e declarar e reportar, né, o abuso. Versátil, um, I think everything you're saying is so important because I feel like this is not a conversation for 1 hour. I know that I have a commitment and you have a commitment, and we have to really shorten this conversation. But what I really would like to, because I believe certain people still don't believe in the impact of a diverse childhood experience. You're talking about, how man needs to really to understand how, his action and the privilege and the power can really take to, you know, that's killing us. Yeah, it's killing the human beings. But it's very important also to show that the adverse childhood experience, they really what is connected with so many diseases, heart diseases, lungs disease, cancer, and we just looking at the behavioral aspect of it, but we need to understand also the biological aspect of it. Yeah. So on working and being in the power, the way that your teacher, now you are a counselor, and you know, um, capoeira contramestre, yeah. So, what do you see
Mm-hmm.
with the people that you meet? Do you think like they are open to come and say, "Hey, this happened to me," or do you think people are ready also to hear you saying I was sexually abused?
It's different. There are a number of people who are really looking to make change and looking to
Mm-hmm.
understand how to change themselves as well as for the better. Um, and then there are a lot of people. Most people don't want to have the conversation. It's an uncomfortable conversation, especially in the United States. It's uncomfortable to talk about sex at all. Um, I think this is one of the things that Brazil may have um, definitely ahead of the United States, and a lot of warmer cultures have ahead of the United States, is that there's ability to talk about sex and about the things
Mm-hmm.
that happen with sex. There are actually studies that show that in warmer cultures, the the same rates of sex happen, but the damage that occurs due to aspects of shame um, are less in warmer cultures because people are able to speak about sex, and thus people are able to have conversations more readily. Doesn't mean that it makes things okay. That in the United States we have this culture of sex is fetishized and only spoken of in terms of scenes in movies and in pornography, but actually having normal conversations about it, it's very true. We're still a very puritanical country. So when a lot of people, especially over the past 3 to 5 years, were organizing workshops and talks about sexual misconduct and to give trainings for people to understand how to avoid it and how to correct themselves, it was the same people coming. The people who were really into doing it, and other people would not come. And some after time, the people coming got fewer and fewer. And I think a lot of people, and this is, in multiple locations, a lot of people were very frustrated. And for this, I created a methodology called the emboscada, uh, where I hold these workshops for different cultural groups and don't announce that it's a sexual abuse workshop. We just announce that it's a workshop. And some people know, some people don't, but means that people who aren't necessarily as open to talking about these things are forced to be in a room and listening and participating. People can leave if they want to, because if not, then it would definitely be unethical with regards to the level of informed consent. Uh, but
Mhm.
it's really necessary, in my opinion, to try to find a way to get everybody into the room, um, even people who have done wrong things, because it's difficult to understand how wrong the things you are doing can be. Some people,
Mhm.
there's not going to be any way of correcting them, but others, that able to stand up to them, and in those spaces, folks are able to do that. So people need to be drawn in, who are not just the people who are on the vanguard of changes. Um, and it's difficult.
Mhm.
Like, I'm sure the
Mhm.
people who are watching this talk with you and I right now, a lot of it's the same people who were watching a talk that I had with some other students and teachers in the community last week and maybe the week before. So I'm hoping that, especially because of who you are in the community, that it's bringing, might not understand the depth of importance of the work that we do, and
Mhm.
who also might
Mhm.
not realize that you and I are also professionals in the realm of psychotherapy and treatment. We're
Mhm.
known very much as our performing selves and as our cultural selves and as teachers in this space, but we bring a lot of other skills um, to bear, and
Yeah,
I'm
exactly, exactly. And it's exactly like this, what you said right now, that I think is very important, because wanting or not, we have some type of power in the community, or at least we are in a position that can have some power. And it's very disappointing sometimes to see that sometimes people in the power, they don't take their position to really to help others, but to really to condemn or to judge, and to really not listen. My experience with the sexual abuse, I feel like we also learn how to protect others from our feelings. We also learn that since the primary care system were not there to really to protect us, we don't trust that other people can protect. You know, sexually abuse involved also. I don't know if you agree with me, but it's very confusing, because our body is our sensation. So, in a moment of sexual abuse, the victim may have this, moment of really achieve the climax, or to feel, the sensations that the body will feel. And this makes it so confusing, because at the same time that I know I don't want this, and this is hurting me, and I'm still feeling it. And the other thing also is that the moment that the abuse starts, you automatically you dissociate. You're not present anymore. Yeah. So memory is something that our body is stored, and it's amazing how our brain works. Versatil, in those groups, that the emboscadas group, what are the reaction of people? Are they coming forward and saying, hey, this happened to me? Or do you feel like more people are withdraw, leaving the group? Or what is the experience of the emboscada?
I think that exposure is still very hard for people. We still need to flex the muscles and grow the muscles of being able to talk about these things, both in our communities and in our cultures at large. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so I think I'm hearing many new people coming out in the emboscada. I think that it's giving people tools to be able to be mindful of their own actions, um, and to think about when they have, because we all have done it. Every single one of us has done something that wrongfully hurt somebody else, whether we realize it or not. And so one of the things that my work is to do is to um, teach people how to take accountability, how not to defend,
Mm-hmm.
how not to say, yes, oh, wow, yeah, I did that. I didn't realize that that's how it hurt you. Thank you for letting me know. What can I do to help you? Instead of running away from the problem or saying, oh, no, you're crazy, and gaslight. But unfortunately, I don't really think that just my work is going to make more people come out. What's making people come out is that more of these conversations are happening. And as soon as one
Mm-hmm.
person comes out, then the next person sees and thinks, well, maybe I need to come out now. Or they regain that memory. Because again, in my case, I had no memories of it for over 30 years, almost 30 years. So people may regain the memories. People may feel like, as they see people supporting the people who are coming out first, that now they can come out as well and maybe have support, which is a great thing, but it's also difficult because in some of these cases, while they have support on one side, you also have people coming out defending the abusers on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
as you put the theme up, the silencing happens. And so we need to also find ways to silence the silencers. And
Mm-hmm.
centrally, I'm telling people this time around that we need to be centering the victims. We need to be centering the victims. Anytime this happens, we're centering ourselves as teachers. We're telling people, um, we're teaching ourselves or trying to find out how we avoid this problem as teachers, how we keep our schools open, how we make sure that we don't make mistakes. We're gonna make mistakes. No matter how goodwill we are, we're gonna make mistakes. And if we're not mindful, or we're not of goodwill, we're gonna make more mistakes. So what we really need to do is focus on the people that have been hurt, providing services, providing a space where they can say the word and not be gaslit. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and at that point, facilitating conversations that need to happen and facilitating people taking um, taking their responsibility for actions that they took. It's really only in that way that we can start to repair and heal a community. Because the longer it takes for people to come out, the more time that fire and that pain is burning inside of them, and the more damage it's causing,
Mm-hmm.
because they're not able to get it addressed. And again, in a lot of these cases, it's been 30, almost 40 years that it's taken for some of these people to come out and come forward. Imagine how much damage that's caused in their lives, how many relationships they've not been able to connect properly, how many job problems they might have had. So it's definitely necessary to create a space where people can come and feel support, and that some of us need to really step up in an aggressive way towards people who are silencing um, the victims.
The victims. Yeah, and that was one of my big, um, motivation, to really to do this, because I felt like, um, I received an article about what's happening with the capoeiristas, yeah, the masters of capoeiristas, and all these victims to started to open up. At least I think the movement started in Brazil, in Fortaleza against the Capoeira Cordão de Ouro, but and involves great masters, people that really well known. And I started to be really bothered by the fact that, you know, Mestre Penteado, that was one of the mestre that was the victim, and one that put his name out there and open up about his experience with the sexual abuse. He contacted me, and through the conversation, I perceived that he's being threatened. Other people calling him and say, "You crazy! Stop saying this. What it is you damaging capoeira?" You know, and I felt just like how we as a society we silence people because our agenda, yeah, because our I don't want you to talk about this. I don't want you to be dealing with that. Or now you talk. Now it's time for you to shut up and don't say anything else. So that's one of the reasons I thought about to invite you, Versatil, because I feel like you're doing an incredible work, um, and not to really, going to school and getting, work with parts of you that really needs to be worked, for you to really to overcome this impact of abuse. For you, as a capoeirista, how this news about all this, sexually abuse, uh, that just like recently that I received just recently the article, how this, for you, um, how this impacted, what impacted in the world of capoeira, how was that for you? How was that for the entire community? How was that? Because for me, it was very disturbing.
Oh man, value. I think incredible. It's just necessary, and I'm blessed to be in a position to do it. I fall short all the time. I'm sure I've fallen short, especially in me saying we need step forward aggressively to people who are silencing victims. I know I've fallen short on that. Even with what happened with Messi Penteado, I heard rumors for years, but I just thought that it was some homophobic rumors. Um, and so, and this is one of the problems. It's very difficult. Um, and I think because we sometimes hear rumors and not facts, we get lazy. We're not equipped to investigate, but the opportunity to kind of dig some kind of vet. But I think more of the time we're just more likely to just say, "I fofoca." It's just rumors, and be done with it, and not really do the due diligence to find out if people actually do have a certain history. Um, so it's to answer your question, it's stressful for the community. But I think one of those stresses primarily is we would call it annihilation anxiety. Everybody's afraid that their group is going to disappear. Everybody's
Mm.
afraid of their the financial bottom line. Um, and nobody, again, is taking care of the victims. Nobody's afraid of what happens to the victims. Everyone's in fear for themselves. And unfortunately, It's understandable, but that's not how communities should be. If we're really a community, then we're thinking about the communal well-being. That means protecting those who've been hurt. Um, but at the same time, folks are really, the first reaction is protect the reputation. Uh, we don't want parents to be afraid to bring their children to come and train with us. We don't want women to be afraid to come and take dance classes. We so instead of having loud conversations about these things, we make sure that everybody's quiet, and we say, "Oh, we're going to just deal with it in house." But that usually means sweeping it under the rug. That usually means not dealing with it at all. I think it's
Mm-hmm.
important that we create facilities to deal with it in house. My
Mm-hmm.
recommendations for every cultural group is to have a conduct, to have a group who are a judiciary board, who take complaints and investigate, so that whenever you in a class or at an event, you know that there are 3, 4, 5 people there who you can always talk to. Even if one of those people is the person you're having a problem with, talk to another person, right? So those two things are
Mm-hmm.
majorly important. Uh, and then also for us in the U.S., a lot of groups now, including my own, are going to be having background checks for all of the teachers, um, because again, you don't know what you don't know. You and I obviously have to get multiple background checks whenever we're working facility, especially when we're working with children. But in all honesty, a samba school is a mental health facility. A capoeira school, mental health facility. And so the very least that we can do is make sure that the people who are working there have background checks, right?
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Mm-hmm.
so again, when we victims radicalize our own quote unquote interest in preserving our reputations and securing our bottom line, um,
Mm-hmm.
we we can actually grow the community. And I say
Mm-hmm.
this because in retrospect, if you look back, how many women were in capoeira? Strong women, amazing dancers, amazing movers, who are not there now because of some shit that somebody did, right?
Mm-hmm.
How many children may have left capoeira or dance because they were touched in an inappropriate way? And sometimes people do that without knowing because they pick up a child, they're small, and they weren't trying to touch the child in an inappropriate way, but to the child the touch was inappropriate. The child not
Mm-hmm.
answering about it, and the teacher isn't mindful about how they touch children. But there are courses
Mm-hmm.
out there that teach teachers how to interact with children so they don't make those mistakes. There are so many things that can be done. And if we're able to
Mm-hmm.
do that, we're not going to be losing those students. It actually
Mm-hmm.
benefits our bottom line to be able to keep those students. Imagine
Mm-hmm.
having a group that have 50 contramestras. Imagine having
Mm-hmm.
a dance school that have 50 teachers. Imagine having 100 kids who at the age of 7 who are now in their 20s and are now teaching. Imagine how much abundance we could create if we had fewer people to be damaged, or if that people were hurt, they were able to have those things addressed. Because again, a lot of these hurts happen because of mindlessness, a lack of mindfulness, not necessarily that they were purposeful or that people are acting out. And even when they are purposeful, people have the ability to better themselves and change. Certain people be in jail, but certain people need
Yes.
to learn. Even those people who are in jail still need to be learning and still need to be getting the healing that they need.
Yes, Father Madrinha is saying oppressing the victims is so counterintuitive to the spirit of capoeira and why it was created. And I agree with that, Father Madrinha. I really, I feel like this is our point over here. The other thing also that I would like to challenge is this, uh, uh, position of bystanders. People, be there, seeing things happening and not doing anything. That's how, when I was talking with Master Penteado, I was feeling like this heaviness of, wow, what can I do? I cannot just say, oh, well, that's your problem, man. I'm sorry that happened to you. I couldn't, and it's not like I'm automatically like crucifying, the well, how you said it, like I really am here open for him to come to me and to say, hey, I need your help. And I want to help. I don't want to close my eyes because I think that we have this conversation, Versatil, of how we are promoting all these abusing and really supporting them for years without knowing. Is he still there? Versatil, I think we lost Versatil, guys, but please make your questions, send your questions over here. I think he's gonna reconnect, and I don't know what happened. So, oh, he's back. You're back. So, did you hear what I said? Versatil is being the
Yeah, I think.
bystander.
Did I disappear? I was hearing you the whole time.
Oh, great, great, great. So, and I feel like, this is, it's like I said, it's not a conversation for 1 hour. It's some conversation that needs to really to evolve and develop more and more spaces. But Versatil, so great ideas that the schools are thinking. I felt like so many schools, they send out, you know, all these statements supporting the victims. But do you truly believe that the victims are being supported?
I think there's
We are having some
something
technical issues.
every
I believe that.
system
Mhm.
uh, is about it can take patriarchal as well and that we will repeat it. Anybody who has been abused capacity to repeat their abuse towards other people. And I think that um, necessity in our but the trying to maintain this honor and this valor and this beauty. So you can't from the top. You have to lift the people from the bottom up. That it's equality. It creates the cultures that we like to sing about. Um, and so, unless we are doing that work, really as teachers, to make ourselves not the most powerful in the group, we need to make ourselves accountable to our students. As of yet, uh, I've been talking to folks in Oakland area. I've been talking in the looking at way that they run events, the way that their organizational teachers are able to accountable to the students, not the other way around. To see that work happening, but again, I'm thinking schools that are able to do that will be models for other schools, and then other schools just are not going to be following suit, and we'll see what the result of that is going forward. Um, Thank you for bringing me out. Sorry that my internet was a little bit janky, but it's an honor to come back and see how things have moved, because with every cycle of revelation and outrage, there's a little bit more power that people find to actually step forward and do the work.
Yeah, and this is an interesting thing. I want to to see to ask you if you would like to come back, so with a better internet or something. But it's just because I feel like this conversation is something that is so beneficial for people. First of all, I think like people still don't know the difference between trauma and the impact of trauma. Even we still don't know a lot about trauma. We're just discovering now. It's very recent that all this, the research on trauma and the impact on on us. We talk a lot about generational trauma. We talk a lot about things that I feel like people still don't know, and needs to have more space to be talk about it. But I would like to thank you for coming over here and to really to start it this conversation. Say I am a survivor of child abuse and of sexually abuse. And also I believe that just this hour will give some people some food for thought, so people can really start to understand that we need to do something. We cannot just be silencing victims.
Mm.
So I'm not sure how. I hope that Versatil is really listening. I really appreciate his work. I just would like to put over here, guys, some facts, some myth that we have about child abuse. And Fernanda, pode botar aqueles textos que eu botei, por favor? Dá para vocês colocarem aqui dá para vocês colocarem o PDF? Okay, so um, here is the 10 common myths that we have about child abuse. That child abuse only happens in some parts of society, and this is not a true thing. Rates of child abuse and neglect are affected by socioeconomic status.
Obrigado.
Is it, we have all this over here. The number two is children are victimized by creepy psychopathic strangers. No, usually, a high number of victims, they are victimized by somebody who knows them. Children usually tell someone they are being abused. No, the child will not say it. Okay, and maybe they delay or maybe they never disclose. principally if the child abuse happens in a period of that child will not have the verbal ability. So some children start to be abused really early. Uh, Many children lie about being abused. It's less than 10% that between 2 to 10% of children that perhaps will lie, but it's not true. If a child has been sexually abused, there will be medical evidence. It's not always, that's not true. Okay, so, and that's one of the biggest reason we still need to be training a lot of the um, law enforcement because people still don't believe in people without evidence. Um, the most common type of abuse children experience at home is sexually abuse. Actually, child neglect is the most common type of abuse experienced in the home. Males who are sexually abused as a boy all grew up to sexually abuse children. That's not a true thing, you know. Only male sexually abused children. No, at least 20% of substantiated child abuse cases are perpetrated by females. Boys are less traumatized as victims of sexually abuse than girls. No, the severity of traumatization among male victims of sexual abuse is equal to female victims. Children with disability are less likely to become victims of abuse than children without disability. Children with a disability are 2 to 3 times more likely to uh, than children without disability to experience abuse. So, guys, I want to just to finish over here for us also to learn more about this myth and to deal with. Versatil, I know that you have a commitment. Thank you so much for your being here. Uh, I want to invite you to come back. I think we should to really to create a space to us to talking more about this. You know, I think like we are in a time. Um, we are here, and this is the time. Yeah, this is the time for us to start to open up and to talk and to say more about it.
Yeah, I completely agree, and I just want to thank you, not just for being here right now in this moment, but folks might not realize you are one of my mentors, both in the cultural arts as
Oh,
well
thank you.
as a therapist, and it's really important that you are here along with us, as we continue along this trajectory, uh, because this work is extremely important. And you're a person who's given me a lot of motivation and a lot of direction, and some cues and pointers that have really been, formational in who I am and the way. So it's really an honor to with you doing this work in
Thank
our
you.
linked cultural communities. So thank you very much.
No, thank you. Thank you. And please let me know when you're available so we can come back and continue this conversation because I feel like there are so much that we don't know and people just waiting, to really to have a space and to a healing environment to be created, for them. So thank you for your work. Thank you for being so vulnerable and open. And we're gonna come back over here, guys, to really to be talking more about this because I feel like 1 hour is not enough.
Legal. Obrigado.
Obrigada a
Então,
você, meu amor.
eu tenho que sair.
Tá bom, vai lá, meu
Abraço para
amor.
toda a gente.
Abraço para todos.
All right.
Beijo, beijo, Versátil. Bye, bye. So, guys,
Beijocas.
ciao, Versátil. So, guys, so thank you so much for being here. Cecilia, Fada Madrinha, Vânia, other people, Reni Lima Ferreira, capoeirista, also from I think that is a very important space for us to talk and to continue talking. And that's one of the things with the International Samba Congress. We are not here just to show performances. We are not here just to promote culture. We are here to see really all the parts of culture, all the parts of being human beings, and we are definitely, we want to make sure that we create a space where healing can happen. So I would love to have over here other people that you think would be important to be here. So any suggestion would be great for us. So I'm coming back. I was a little bit tired and overwhelmed of doing everything I was doing, but now I'm back. And we're going to do this bate-papo to be a space of healing as well. So International Samba Congress is happening in November 5, 6, 7, 12, 13, 14. So 2 weeks, not 2 weekends, yeah? So just be ready. So we're going to be putting out there all the information for the International Samba Congress, and we will have other bate-papo. Our next bate-papo will be with Irineu Nogueira, and it will be in July 2nd. So I know it will be the July 4th weekend or something like this, but we are trying to really to make this. So our voices have a space at the IC. Yes, Cecilia. Yeah, and you are a big voice over here. So we also, Cecilia and I, we are also trying to really to make a bate-papo about the posture of the woman in samba, and also the position of the woman in samba, and really to see how samba is evolving and how some aspect of samba is not being really explored, and how other aspects of samba is being exploited. So we are putting something together, Cecilia and Ferreira and I. We are thinking about who to bring. I want to bring 3 really great passistas from Rio de Janeiro so we can really talk about this. So guys, I just have to thank you for being here. I'm back full of energy, and we will be discussing more and more and more of things. Fernanda, Tayan, Vânia, muito obrigada pelo seu apoio. Hoje nós tivemos uma aula maravilhosa com o Pitoco e com a Marcela Rabelo, e a gente está assim, gente, a gente faz aula de um lado, mostrando a cultura, a beleza da cultura, e a gente traz um espaço, né, em que o International Samba Congress também possa ser o espaço de todas as vozes, e que possa realmente ser esse espaço em que a gente possa curar, né, um espaço de cura. Então, é um espaço que a gente realmente está criando e que a gente confia, que a gente está podendo ajudar a comunidade em geral. Muito obrigada, beijos. A gente vai ter o nosso International Samba Congress nos dias 5, 6, 7 de novembro e no dia 12, 13, 14 de novembro. E muitas novidades estão aqui por vir. Esteja aqui no nosso canal, por favor, aperte aí o sininho, siga-nos, que nós estaremos sempre aqui oferecendo o nosso melhor. Obrigada, Tayan, Fernandinha, beijos, vejo vocês um outro dia. Okay, but thank you. Protection to the victims is a must. The shame and the stigma often associated with. So if you self-blame, it can generate and can feel reprisal. Yes. A gente precisa de muita oração, não só para as vítimas, mas também para esses abusadores, né? Que também é um trabalho importante que eu acho que tem que ser realmente explorado aqui, né? Que a gente tem que também ver o abusador, né? Claro que a gente tem que centralizar as vítimas, mas a gente também tem que curar o abusador, né? Tentar, pelo menos. Então, so, yeah, it's a very important thing. So, guys, thank you for being open. Thank you for those who really be over here with us, and I see you next time. Bye-bye.